The story centers on Heiress, a young man who has been recently released from jail 3 months early on a conditional arrangement. Bruce Russell, a wealthy and powerful businessman, is the one who secured his early release, but only on the condition that Heiress comes to work for him. Bruce reveals that he has been a sort of distant anonymous benefactor to Heiress for years, part of an organization that provided support to orphan children. His immediate task for Heiress is to become a bodyguard or protector for his daughter Reese Russell, who has been subjected to months of escalating harassment, including an incident where a light fixture nearly fell on her during a dance performance. Bruce, desperate to keep Reese safe, sees Heiress as his best option, promising to help Heiress in return but warning him of the consequences should he fail. Heiress first sees Reese perform at an auditorium where he instinctively rushes forward to save her from a loose cable that could have caused an injury. He flees the scene immediately afterwards, a natural reaction given his history and suspicion of authority, an action he later recounts to his friends Peyton and Diego. The three friends grew up together in a youth detention center and are desperately trying to find stable work so they can gain custody of their young foster brother Simon. Heiress's job with Bruce is the critical piece to achieving this goal. When Bruce introduces Heiress to Reese, she is furious and resistant. She is a privileged, headstrong girl who sees a young male bodyguard as an invasive, humiliating act of control from her father, a social death. She immediately dislikes Heiress, who despite his quiet demeanor is quick to retort with snarky comments. Bruce, despite Reese's protests, insists Heiress is there to make sure everything's okay. Heiress begins his new life attending Reese's private school where he is a striking outsider. His presence immediately draws attention, and Reese's friends, while initially mocking the situation, quickly become intrigued by the handsome, mysterious bodyguard. Their school life is marked by the typical dramas of wealth, status, and social cruelty. The harassment continues. An ex-boyfriend of Reese's, presumably Raul, gives an embarrassing, cruel presentation in class where he publicly calls Reese the biggest beneficiary of the cheerleader effect, implying she's only attractive because of her friends. When he takes things too far, Heiress physically intervenes, leading to a tense confrontation that confirms his protective role to the student body. The social media harassment of Reese intensifies with anonymous, vulgar, and threatening posts. During a moment of forced proximity, Reese presses Heiress about his past. He reveals his parents died in an accident and that Bruce was his sponsor. He tells her the truth about his need for a stable job, to take care of Simon along with Peyton and Diego. The revelation creates a brief, fragile moment of connection, especially when Reese brings up the death of her own mother. However, the connection is instantly shattered when Heiress attempts to show empathy and Reese defensively and cruelly dismisses the comparison, asserting that her privileged loss is incomparable to his. Heiress's friends Peyton and Diego show up at the elite school in their attempts to help. They are wary of Bruce's motives and the world Heiress is now in. Peyton in particular is extremely cynical about the rich, viewing Reese and her friends as snobs who don't starve because they don't have food, they do it to stay thin. Later at Bruce's house, Diego and Peyton convince Heiress to participate in a retaliatory act against a young man who has been bothering them, smashing his motorcycle with a baseball bat. Reese, witnessing the destruction, is both shocked and strangely thrilled by Heiress's reckless side. This incident leads to a heated confrontation between Bruce and Reese, where Bruce accuses Heiress of being a bad influence, confirming Reese's own assessment that her father's protection was a terrible idea. Despite the tension, Reese, along with her friend Claudia, begins investigating the anonymous online harassment. They find the stalker's cryptic threats that hint at a deeper motive: sometimes you have to pay for other people's mistakes. Heiress and his friends, having secured a party invitation through one of Reese's friends, decide to attend her birthday party at the Russell mansion. At the party, Heiress is the center of conversation, and Reese overhears a conversation between her friends. One of them mentions a rumor that Heiress is called the Legend because he ate his folks after the accident, a gruesome exaggeration of the truth that he was blamed for his parents' deaths as a 6-year-old. Later, Heiress and Reese share a quiet moment away from the party chaos. Heiress confirms the rumor's origin, explaining that a forensic report vaguely pointed to him and the story became sensationalized into a vicious nickname. Reese, showing a flicker of true empathy, tells him, "You were just a kid." As they talk, the burgeoning tension and undeniable attraction between them are palpable. Reese's birthday, which should be a celebration, is marred by the continuing presence of the stalker, who has created a large collage of hateful, misogynistic messages and images that they left on display for all the party guests. The movie concludes with Heiress and Reese both at the party, their lives and backgrounds colliding, each realizing the other is more complex than they initially thought. The mystery of the stalker is far from solved, and the film sets the stage for a dramatic story of two teenagers from wildly different worlds bound together by a desperate deal and a growing complicated attraction. Reese Russell's 18th birthday party. Heiress's friends Peyton and Diego crash the event, openly consuming the expensive food and drink and making cynical observations about the wealthy guests despite Heiress's pleas for them not to jeopardize his job. Amid the luxury, the harassment campaign against Reese culminates in a dramatic fashion. A message is projected onto the side of the house: "You've got little time left, Reese Russell," followed by a projectile breaking a window and revealing a large collage of hateful, misogynistic messages and photos of Reese inside the house. Bruce Russell, Reese's father, is enraged and abruptly clears out all the guests. After the chaos subsides, Reese and Heiress discover a strange photograph left at the scene. It shows 4 adults, Bruce and Reese's mother and Heiress's 2 parents, along with an unidentified woman. The photo confirms that their parents knew each other, introducing a profound mystery that shatters Reese's understanding of her life and her father's motives for hiring Heiress. A deep, confusing moment of vulnerability leads to them sharing an impulsive kiss, which they both immediately retreat from, agreeing it shouldn't happen again. The next day, Reese receives another cryptic message: "You've known me since you had baby teeth." Believing the harasser is her ex-boyfriend Raoul, who has known her since childhood, Reese convinces Heiress to break into Raoul's costume party. While inside, Heiress acts as a decoy while Reese searches. She discovers a box of baby teeth and a threatening note, apparently confirming Raoul as the stalker. Raoul catches her and a physical fight ensues, during which Reese and Heiress escape, but not before Reese delivers a satisfying kick to Raoul's groin. The tension and shared danger further fuel the connection between Reese and Heiress. The situation escalates dramatically when a device, apparently a bomb, is discovered attached to the engine of Reese's car, which explodes moments after Heiress manages to get them out. The car being deliberately tampered with confirms that the threats against Reese are deadly. Bruce, seeing the burned out car and believing he is paying Heiress to protect his daughter, coldly confronts him, firing him on the spot. He shows Heiress the old photo and admits that he knew his parents, but insists his actions were only to help Heiress after their deaths. Reese, having seen the photo and the history of deceit, is disgusted by her father's lies and defends Heiress, but Bruce stands firm, dismissing Heiress with a final payment. As he leaves, Heiress gives Reese a bracelet as a gift, which he frames as a future marriage proposal if they are both ugly, old and single at 40, a poignant attempt at a future commitment. In the aftermath of the explosion, Reese discovers an old private notebook belonging to Heiress filled with dark drawings and angry entries expressing intense hatred and envy for the life of Russell and fucking snobs. She confronts him, demanding to know if he is her stalker. Heiress denies it, explaining the drawings are just a way to vent his lonely, hate-filled feelings, but insisting he would never hurt her. He reaffirms their connection but concludes that their separate lives make more sense, saying a final goodbye. Reese then uncovers evidence pointing to a new suspect. One of her school friends, Claudia, has a video on her social media showing a cleaning woman at the school who is clearly Peyton. Reese realizes that Peyton has been lying to Heiress and Diego about her job, claiming she worked at a bar, leading Reese to suspect Peyton is the harasser. She frantically tries to call Heiress, who is with Peyton celebrating her birthday. When Reese cannot reach Heiress, she heads to their apartment. At the apartment, Reese confronts Peyton, who is visibly nervous and defensive, refusing to let Reese use the bathroom or wait for Heiress. Bruce, having received an alarming message from Reese, suddenly bursts in. In a shocking reveal, Peyton pulls out a gun and takes them hostage. Peyton is the daughter of the unidentified woman in the old photograph, who she reveals died in a restaurant fire, the same fire that killed Heiress's parents and Reese's mother. Peyton exposes Bruce's corruption, revealing he owned the restaurant, which lacked a license and fire extinguishers, and he used his money and connections to cover up the accident, placing the blame on 6-year-old Heiress. Bruce Russell not only caused the deaths but ruined the lives of the surviving children. As Peyton rages, intent on revenge, Heiress and Bruce struggle with her for the gun. In the ensuing chaos, the gun goes off, killing Bruce. Peyton is arrested. Following the traumatic events, Reese is left to mourn her father, grappling with the knowledge of his deceit, and Heiress is left reeling from the loss of Peyton and the truth about his past. Days later, Reese gets accepted into the dance company. The film ends with a hopeful, ambiguous reunion. Reese finds Heiress at her dance studio and they share a tender, physically intimate moment, a sign that despite the terrible darkness of their shared history, their bond is real and they still choose each other. The final events of the story reveal the dark truth underlying Bruce Russell's motives, the escalating harassment, and the mysterious connection between Reese and Heiress. What began as a superficial protective arrangement quickly spirals into a fight for survival when a car bomb confirms the threats are lethal. When Reese confronts Heiress about his dark private drawings, the tension between them peaks, leading to Heiress's emotional departure, convinced their different worlds are incompatible. The true antagonist is then unmasked, Peyton, Heiress's close friend. Driven by years of secret rage, Peyton reveals she is the daughter of a woman who died in a restaurant fire, the same fire that killed Heiress's parents and Reese's mother. The fire, which Bruce covered up using his wealth and influence, was caused by his negligence and resulted in him framing a 6-year-old Heiress. This exposé shatters Reese's image of her father and exposes the moral rot at the foundation of her privileged life. The confrontation culminates in a violent struggle where Bruce is killed and Peyton is arrested. This act of devastating revenge and justice leaves Reese and Heiress with the wreckage of their pasts. However, in the aftermath of tragedy, their relationship finds a path forward. Reese begins to find healing by pursuing her dreams in the dance company, and Heiress eventually returns to her. The conclusion sees them united not by a forced contract or a dark secret, but by a shared history of loss and a genuine fragile love, suggesting that even from the most catastrophic bad influence, a hopeful future can emerge. If you enjoy watching this video, then subscribe to Angel Recaps for the latest movies explanation.